I'm Wendy, I manage the channel here at HYCU for EMEA and been doing it for 4 years, and still just as excited today about what we're doing at HYCU as what I was on day one. The product's evolved so much and so quickly. It really is exciting times, you know, and giving partners the opportunity to be able to expand with us. So obviously I'm working with the partners. That includes both traditional VARs, MSPs, distribution, all of it, literally. But we also we tend to follow where as we're building and growing and bringing on more modules, we tend to go after as well as the traditional VARs. We tend to be looking at those focus partners that work within those markets. So, for example, iManage, which has just been launched, is a legal tool and widely used globally. Obviously, in EMEA for this purpose. But so we've gone out to the likes of Moray, Tiger Eye, and various other partners that specialise in the legal sector or specialise with iManage. And we've done the same with Atlassian. We've done the same with many of our other products as well. And those types of partners are really different. They're a lot different to your traditional CDWs and your traditional VARs. And they've got the contacts. They've got all the key organisations working with them because they're specialising in that area. So yes, so as I said, we're working very much in EMEA. Obviously, I'm based in the UK, as you can tell from my accent. So we have a really strong focus on the UK and I, because it's obviously a large market, particularly for iManage, which again is one of our focuses this year. But we also are concentrating heavily in France, the DACH region, and Middle East. We have a counterpart over in the US who's working that business, but no, I mean we definitely see the opportunity over here in EMEA, and as I said, the focus areas where we see the biggest opportunities are UK and I, Germany, France, where we're actually building in-country teams. So we're just got to bring someone on in Germany to help us grow that business. And we again utilise distribution with all those key areas. Yes, sorry.
One question. How many employees you have at the moment?
Oh, I think we've got about 500 now, haven't we, Brian?
Plus or minus across the globe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're growing. I mean, last year, Q4 last year, we actually grew over 170%. The growth and potential with HYCU is amazing, and partners are seeing that. Partners are seeing that they can uncover or unlock a brand new revenue stream with HYCU that they can't with anybody else in the world. We offer 10 times more workloads than any other backup vendor in the world, and obviously we've got our strong alliance with Dell. So we work very, very closely with Dell, and again, I manage that relationship in EMEA as well, and nurture those guys. And obviously, I manage and Atlassian. And obviously, we can't forget about Nutanix. They were our firstborn, as it were, and we again have a. I'm actually a surrogate member of the Nutanix team apparently now. But yeah, so we work, very closely with those guys, and as I said, Dell guys, and the Dell relationship is growing and going strength to strength. It's taking time because obviously it's a huge machine, but funny enough, I used to manage them when I was at Commvault many moons ago, so I kind of know my way around them. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at in the EMEA channel. As I said, we're looking to build the teams in country in those focus areas. We've already got a strong team in France. And we're building that out in Germany, in the UK and I. We're finding, I must be having at least 2 or 3 brand new conversations with new partners every single week at the moment. And we're also having an influx of MSPs coming to talk to us. Obviously they can sell more workloads to their customers by using HYCU, because they can
Dell has its own software backup product.
It does indeed,
How do
yes.
you relate to them?
So they have PPDM. The whole reason that they brought us on board to begin with. Sorry, Brian, I'm taking up your time. Yeah, so the whole reason that Dell actually brought us on, they trialled Commvault, Veeam, I think, and ourselves, but they chose to bring the HYCU badge into their price book because of the Nutanix relationship. They were obviously partnering with Nutanix as well, and their own backup product, PPDM, couldn't work with Nutanix at the time. So they needed something to fill a gap. But as I said, we very quickly ran out of that swim lane, or swam out of that swim lane, sorry. We went in very much with the Nutanix swim lane, and then, every time I presented, it would be, well, hang on a minute, we can sell all that SaaS. We don't have to say, no, we don't do it anymore. So we very quickly have expanded within Dell around the SaaS piece. And that is a lot of my conversations within partners now. And even going in when they have existing relationships or legacy relationships with, some of our competitors, as I say to them, it doesn't mean you can't utilise HYCU and still uncover a new revenue stream. You can still work, and I appreciate that because obviously I've worked at some of them. Appreciate they've got those relationships already, but they can't do the SaaS piece where we can. So even if we work alongside, it's fine. Hopefully, I'm hoping that customers prefer us, and when their incumbent renewal comes up, then they expand with us. But as I said, with partners, it's very much my conversation around, look, I just want to be your number one choice for SaaS, and then I'm growing out of that. And that's resonating well. But the MSP is quite interesting at the moment. I'm getting some global or EMEA-wide very large MSPs coming to me and saying, they want to work with us. Sorry.
The countries you mentioned, you didn't mention any South European countries. Come from Italy, but I was wondering what
Yes.
your plans are for that.
We have got plans. I'm actually talking to a new distributor in Italy as we speak. So it's not that we're not working in those other countries. We're absolutely working, across the board in EMEA. But we're focusing, the idea from my perspective is we go in, we focus, we grow, we build, then we move on. And then that way, we know we've done it right. Rather than spread ourselves too thinly and just, and not have enough time. I feel that if we do that, then grow the team, like we've done in France at the moment. We've got a team of 4 or 5, and we're going to do the same in Germany. We'll do the same in the UK, hopefully, eventually. And then, as I said, once they're working, move on. But that said, doesn't mean we won't work with a partner in Italy or Portugal or wherever. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned Nutanix, and one of the things I can see looking at your website is that you don't currently support Proxmox, correct?
Do we? We don't support Proxmox, Brian. Not yet, do we?
Yeah, it's under evaluation right now. We do see a lot of customers request it. However, there's more that request other platforms, in the Microsoft stack, extension of the Nutanix stack with containers, as well as continued requests for VMware expansion. So it's on the radar screen. It's just a matter of where our customers and prospects, and probably, as Wendy mentioned, more importantly, a lot of our channel partners are pulling us in specific directions. And I mentioned kind of 3 above Proxmox there that we are more invested in at this point. But it's on the radar screen for us to, if we continue to hear feedback, we'll add it to the portfolio. Yeah.
Okay. Just saying, since you're already offering a solution for Nutanix AHV, and both Nutanix AHV and Proxmox virtual environment, they're both based on KVM. So it should be, technically speaking, it should be relatively easy to also bring Proxmox on board.
Yeah, I think it's easy for us to say relatively simple for our engineering team to add to the roadmap. Uh, and like I mentioned, it's under investigation. We do have field engineering that can actually do qualifications of certain platforms that don't necessarily require a full engineering roadmap. So that's why I utilize the words. It's within our sites. How we go about doing that continues. Like I said, we have multiple options to get to that point in time. It's just not right. It's not immediate, but certainly feasible for us to get done.
You target more enterprise customers rather than things like SMBs or smaller MSPs.
You want to take that one, Brian, or me?
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, Wendy. Go ahead.
Yeah, so no, we haven't really got a sweet spot, right? We can cover, all sectors, all sizes. Our target audience is between 500, from 500 and above to 10,000. So we kind of want that mid-market. We're working with that mid-market to enterprise. But as I said, we've got customers, obviously in the legal industry, you've got lots of legal, smaller legal firms, and then we back up the entire federal government, So, we've got the other end of the scale as well. And we're working with all sorts of sectors. So NHS is a big play in the UK at the moment. We're doing quite a lot with Dell over in the Middle East. So yeah, and as I said, I manage the legal tool, and we've also got iManage 360 that we've launched as well. But I won't steal your all of your goods, Brian. Sorry, but yeah, I mean, obviously the legal sector is, in the legal partners, the likes of Moray, that are obviously worldwide, that we work with very heavily. Harbour Solutions, we're looking to work with in the UK. So yeah, there's lots of different angles, and I think that is it, just it with HYCU. There is so much to talk about. You've kind of got too much at times when I'm talking to partners. It's like, where do we start? Yeah, it's certainly giving them, a lot to think about and sell more. Any other questions?
So to start from the beginning, what is iManage?
Okay. iManage is a legal tool used in most legal firms worldwide. It
sounds like a SaaS app.
Yes, so it is a SaaS app, yeah. So they're moving all of. I'll let you take this one, Brian. Go on.
So I think to give it a parallel or a comparison in possibly the tech industry, we may utilize SharePoint or simple box workflows within within law firms as well as corporate legal departments. iManage is their content management and their matter management solution that has been around for a decade plus, if not longer, and is where all of the firms as well as their clients on the industry side store, manage, collaborate, share, preserve information. So they're quite large repositories. It was an on-prem application for a number of years. iManage has transitioned it to a SaaS app. As part of that transition, a few years ago, they sought out a data protection and a resilience partner, knowing that with the SaaS world and the risks had been introduced. So we built what I would call a real alliance that involved product development, R&D collaboration, product management, and over the last 9 months or so has has the go-to-market components as well.
So I'll hand over to you, Brian.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for allowing us to participate and take a few minutes of your day. Just to share extend some of the conversation that Wendy started regarding HYCU's momentum. And there's a couple of things that I thought were great questions. You know, the supported platforms, we'll go into a little bit of how do we prioritize. It was great to talk a little bit about, you know, why Dell chose us, what we're seeing as part of that relationship, and where we're moving all the way through kind of our focus, our target market. So as mentioned, Don Jennings is here in the room with me. When we get wrapped up, we'll definitely leave some time for questions. But also, if you see anything during the brief presentation here, please feel free to reach out. And you might be wondering who I am. I'm about a 15-month veteran here at HYCU. I joined after over a decade with in the cybersecurity space, having grown an MSP business globally, and then became the chief customer officer of a mid-market cybersecurity solution firm that was between $500 million and $1 billion in revenue, and have a deep, profound respect for the prevention component in the cybersecurity and risk space, but have real roots and belief on the recovery aspect of it, because you can have all the prevention you want in the world, but at some point in time, you are going to need to be able to get things back and get your business substantiated back with information that is intentionally, accidentally, or otherwise removed or taken offline, deleted, and many of you in the room are well aware of the market risks that exist related to that information. So I have had the pleasure, I have our customer success organization, which is post-sales, onboarding all the way through the lifetime of a customer, and our global support organization. And I also have the pleasure of leading our marketing team, which does a great job of sharing the insights and our customer feedback throughout our go-to-market teams. So we've seen a great amount of investment and momentum in across the globe, in particular in Europe, where our customers have ranged from many sizes. And, you know, I would say, as Wendy mentioned, the momentum and some of the mid-market MSPs and above selecting us, not just because we do one thing well, it's because of what you see up here is what we do across the broad range and simplify the operational resilience of a business. So with that, I'll get started. But again, please, if you have any questions, I can't see the hand raises, but feel free to just kind of shout it out, or Wendy can point it out, and we'll happy to have a discussion more so than a slide presentation. Just as just a reminder, if you will, for some, that in those that don't know where HYCU kind of came from, where we're at. Well, you know, nearly 5,000 organizations across the globe rely on our technology solutions to keep their business up and running with the prevention of data loss or downtime. We have several industries that have brought us to the forefront of our success. The United States federal government being one, but as you can see with the customers below, pharmaceutical all the way through industrial, have found use cases, whether it be SaaS applications, whether it be development on their Nutanix platforms, or something in between. And our investment, our investment partners are founded with strong Silicon Valley roots with Bain Capital and A-Crew, with strategic investments from some of the leaders in SaaS application development and infrastructure partners. We rely and enjoy a tremendous amount of partnership with Dell and the public cloud providers, as well as a lot of the SaaS application solutions who somebody like an iManage recommend us after identifying a need or a gap in their application portfolio and availability for their solution set. Okta does a great job of championing the identity requirements in an organization, and also are very good at being a stalwart and recommending folks that the identities need to be protected to a known good state, so we can keep companies safe from any type of identity drift. So, you know, the cyber landscape continues. There's new injection points. There's new risk, and I think one of those that is talked about quite a bit is in the AI, in the kind of modern AI and ever changing component of AI that it brings into the IT environments these days. So where we see the risk, we've highlighted, you know, kind of where it could be, but in independent research, you know, the SaaS risk, the monetary risk is as much as the actual disruption of the loss of data. We're talking about $400,000 to $500,000 dollars of lost revenue or opportunity that industries on average, so this isn't necessarily specific to retail or industrial or finance, this is across all. And you know, it is pretty tied to the more SaaS apps you have, the more risk you carry as far as an outage goes. What happens if NetSuite or Dynamics, we're well versed in iManage in the legal world, the billable hours for attorneys. So the materiality of something goes wrong, something goes missing, is quite substantial, which is driving market expansion on a pretty consistent basis for us. And
Brian,
we're starting to see that. Yes,
we have a question.
absolutely.
Bertrand Guerre from L'Informaticien in Paris. I love the way you write the history of HYCU. And initially, you were the backup for Nutanix environment.
Yeah.
Do you see a new traction, you know, with the possibilities that some customers move from VMware to Nutanix?
Yeah.
And do you have some insights on the way HYCU is going on with this Nutanix environment?
Sure. So as far as the hypervisor platform, the virtualization platform trends we have witnessed, there has been transitions, I would say, across the three major. So I think there was a big spotlight and expectation that there would be plenty leaving VMware for alternative platforms. And we've certainly seen that up to a size of customers, number of virtual machines, and number of instances that they have. However, we've also seen people leaving, Microsoft in the same light, going to Nutanix. We've seen a few people that are shifting Nutanix over to Microsoft. So I would say, while we did see some initial impact on VMware to Nutanix, it's been dependent on the size of the organization and what they have. A lot of larger companies that we have engagements with have stuck with their VMware and are just kind of deepening the use case that, where they still have Nutanix, but they kept their VMware as well. So they've broadened the use case with HYCU. Nutanix continues to be a great growth engine for us. But frequently we get asked, not just supporting Nutanix, but other workloads as well, as customers keep a Microsoft VMware, Nutanix, and very frequently, a public cloud platform as well.
Thank you for your answer.
Also, another question been raised around how we compare with Keep It.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the ability to protect all workloads, I think a few slides ago we talked about the evolution of the applications of where they were developed. So on-prem, there's still quite an estate. That estate is still thriving. There's still plenty of platforms. There's movement to private, public clouds. There's moving away from public clouds. So, and the SaaS portfolio is a big part of what we do, but many customers choose us for SaaS because we've already had experience. And and have treated them very well and executed very well because of their experience with us on Google public cloud workloads, moving Microsoft environments from on-prem into the Azure cloud. So I think when it comes to comparisons across almost any competitor, the workload support, the application diversification, and our history kind of moving with the industry of on-prem public cloud, and now you're starting to see a lot what we're having on SaaS. That's why customers choose us over many, many other alternatives. I think there's a few trends that we just mentioned, whether it be in the comparisons or market expansion. And I think that's, the market expansion is one thing that is happening at a pace that many don't fully respect or understand. There's a lot of, like I mentioned, there's catalysts like AI and agentic development trends. But where we see a lot of customers talking about where the risk is, it comes across the infrastructure, the identity, and then where does the IP of the organization sit. So we had a little bit of a dialogue about what I manage was as it relates to the legal industry, both law firm and corporate legal departments. We've seen rapid development and changes within the Atlassian in the Atlassian world. Even the use cases for Nutanix and developing new applications rather quickly in the performance. We've seen new use cases with Nutanix regarding sovereignty, which is a big topic that we have for another couple of minutes. I want to make sure that you see what we hear from our customers on a pretty consistent basis. The Microsoft productivity portfolio, I think if we had this conversation 12 to 18 months ago, we were talking about, okay, it's just Microsoft 365. However, the catalyst of Copilot and now what individuals are doing within that Microsoft productivity suite is a very different thing than, again, they did a few months back, and it continues to accelerate the change rates inside of that portfolio. The change rates inside of their identity within Microsoft changes quite a bit. So how do they go back? If something bad happens, how do they go back to a place where they feel safe and they know where it was, and they know that they could operate their business from? So we talked a bit about why customers choose us. It really, I think when we talk about HYCU, synonymous with our cloud platform, which is the ability, our cloud gives customers the ability and visibility to see what's in their data estate. So they can visualize it, they can see what is protected, what is not protected, the on-prem all the way through their SaaS services. As they add new ones, as they take things or decommission, what does that data look like? How do we make sure they're protected at a frequency that meets their recovery requirements, that makes sure that they don't have the risk of information going missing or something being down? We've learned a lot, not just in horizontal applications and databases and in virtualization platforms. We've learned quite a bit of how critical data is within the SaaS world. And then now kind of what is that criticality of data in an AI-boosted, AI-facilitated application development world. When we talk with customers about what our cloud does for them, it gives them that level of visibility. It gives them that level of, okay, I am protected. Protection, as we had started our discussion, is only as good as how quickly you can get back up and running, and whether that's recovering a virtual machine in Google because it has your e-commerce platform like a Zebra, or if it's running some sort of custom application on Nutanix, what's your ability to make sure that you can get that back? We've gone through proof of concept with a number of industries where customers won't buy us or a competitor until they actually go through the recovery operation and see how seamless that is. And then, what is becoming a little less about freedom itself, but freedom of choice of where do you want to store your data? Do you want to keep it in country? Do you want to move it from a cloud provider back on-prem? Do you want to move it from a cloud provider to another one? Do you want to move it into a hosted environment? We talked a little bit about MSPs. Do you want to move it to a hosted platform that you utilize a partner to keep and maintain for you? Our ability to do the heterogeneous protection as well as the heterogeneous recovery has driven quite a bit of interest and subsequent growth over the past 6 months. And I would say it probably is now one of the top conversations that we do have with customers, especially those with, that operate outside the United States. There's quite a bit of interest from European customers, European channel partners about having the flexibility to move away from public cloud and move from one public cloud to another, and having some flexibility there. This just depicts a bit of how our customers see HYCU and the value that we bring through their lens. Is it's a view, one that many people take for granted in certain aspects of the IT operating world, but it's truly just gets individuals to be able to group applications, see what they do have running, see if there's exposure. So if you're in the compliance department of IT operations, you want to know, do we have data protection policies running against our critical apps, against our critical data sets, and you utilize our cloud, you can certainly see where you might be exposed. And a lot of times that doesn't necessarily happen within the data center. It happens in a service like a GitHub or GitLab, where you have code repositories that could go offline. Somebody could make a change they did not want to make, and we need to get back. So there's a risk assessment that can be done not just by those that run backups all the time, but the compliance and security groups that we meet with. I think there's many different ways to share this, but yes, happy to answer.
I was going through your website and you see you have the R discovery tool. If you run that at your customers or future customers,
sure.
Do they have new insights by running that tool? What kind of insights do appear that they didn't expect to see? Do they see maybe tools that they are using that they didn't use or didn't know that they were using, or other stuff which is quite interesting? And what kind of trends do you see?
So I would say the one thing that surprises customers the most, that continues to be a trend, is how many public cloud and SaaS services their organization connects to and uses, and they are unaware of the data criticality within those services. So many times people have moved app development away from an on-prem and into a public cloud operating environment. Some are aware in their organization, not necessarily everybody. So we have, I think, the first thing that we see, and probably the biggest trend, is the surprise of public cloud and SaaS sprawl that the person running the actual R cloud discovery capability is shocked with. I would say the second thing that comes up quite frequently is the Microsoft. The Microsoft solution stack is, many times we're having discussions about, an application inside of Microsoft, whether it be the Azure on-prem, the Azure cloud, the identity solution, Enter ID, or the M365. But when you run this, you actually can see the Microsoft, all of the Microsoft applications that are moving in and around. And while the Microsoft group inside of a customer thinks they know everything that's going on, they might find a Dynamics here or a code repo over there. And that again, it's a little bit of a surprise, but it also allows them to understand what that in that totality of what is the relationship from an app standpoint or an infrastructure standpoint with Microsoft.
Do you already see your customers using the Microsoft agents?
Yeah, I would say our conversations are not necessarily about how many agents they're using, but about how they've taken what has been an out of the box or off the shelf SaaS application and started putting it to use in a way that is entirely different than what you would expect. We have a manufacturer client that is using the Atlassian Jira portfolio as a customer service, it's almost a self-service customer service application. And their development cycles, because of agentic capabilities, are far more frequent than they were 12 months ago. So we don't necessarily talk about the individual agents. What we're seeing is, what are they using these applications for now that, they look a lot different than they did when they came out of the box. And now they're being customized. Their development, but development cycles are in 3 to 5 days, and the risk kind of goes from there. As if there are changes or there's deployments that aren't what they expect them to be, how do they get back? Our identity portfolio is probably one of the more popular ones across the globe right now. I do believe that's because of agents operating as humans. So we're starting, I would say there's been initial conversations, about just the quantity, but we're more seeing it on the application change rates.
Thank you.
Great question.
Okay, you perhaps covered this with your gap analysis, but it seems to me that it's not how many applications you cover with HYCU, which is the point. It's the one application you don't cover, which some evil actor discovers. So it easily gets a false sense of security by protecting an awful lot of applications. It only takes one application for a disgruntled employee or ex-employee to discover for you to be totally vulnerable. Does that make sense?
Well, I would say the customer at that point, or the prospective customer, would probably be the most vulnerable. What we're trying to do is identify the ones that aren't protected or protected at a rate that the business believes they are. We do have many customers, and happy to have any of these conversations with folks offline, but we do have a lot of customers that don't fully appreciate or understand the shared responsibility model of what a platform provider gives you from a data protection, what a SaaS supplier gives you from data retention and protection standpoint, versus what you're supposed to do. So there's always risk that somebody's using an older version of application. There's more risk right now of people believing that something is protected and them not knowing the frequency, the recoverability, the recovery time of it in particular. So the coverage is fairly broad for us. It's rare that one component, whether, there's components of our discussion of, if we had more time, and again, happy to have this, but how, now vector databases are becoming more of a reality, and where we're getting pulled into conversations with Redis and Pinecone. So I would say our exposure of not covering isn't the biggest risk. It's the exposure the customer doesn't know about because they think a cloud provider is doing, protection on a hourly basis. In reality, they might only be doing daily, and they only keep 7 days.
Sure, that's right. Yes, a number of people that think that because of AWS, their data is secured and they'll get it back for them. They discovered that when they went down, it wasn't.
Yeah. There's we are in many discussions where we educate on the shared responsibility model for providers, and usually that gets followed up by, I should see the map that our cloud provides me, so I understand what I believe is happening. You know, do I have any exposure? And then is somebody else doing something about it, or is that our now responsibility, and how do we plan for that? So in most events, there's a kind of a path that gets taken. You know, and we use iManage a lot as an example. I think many iManage law firms across the globe weren't entirely sure what iManage was going to do from a protection standpoint and how that would work in their infrastructure. And, you know, thus the partnership that was started with iManage, you know, at a deep kind of development level, because they're not data protection experts, they're legal workflow application experts. And so we kind of filled the gap of who's gonna make sure it was protected. And you'll see more of that, across enterprise applications from HYCU here throughout the next 3 to 6 months. It's applications that are a little bit more horizontal in the financial and human capital management, as well as the ERP ecosystem.
That's true. I mean, I've heard tales from the previous lives actually tell lies about how much protection their product, don't have to worry about any sort of protection. We do all that for you. When that was certainly true, but it's made to sell.
Well, with the other tool that we have, it also we've done a lot of research on what vendors do actually provide. So we are able to, not only say what products they've got, we can also show them, the level of protection vendors getting.
They normally provide exactly what you paid for. It says in the contract, no more.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would say Wendy's at the kind of the forefront in a lot of these customer discussions around who's doing what. And a lot of times, unfortunately, the customers find out that nobody was doing anything. So if if we shared how many times the customer said, I thought they were doing, or I thought, insert your favorite cloud provider, they did this, insert your favorite, your favorite application. And some of the applications have added services related to data protection, but they're limited. So they might only give you a few days. They might only give you dailies. They might, there's a bit of a check the box mentality of, yes, we have it. But when you dig into it, and if you, like I mentioned, given the rapid pace of development, if you don't have the ability to go back multiple days or get back to before, a number of agents were inserted into your identity profiles, how do you, where do you want to go? Or how far do you want to go back? You might not have that capability. And again, it probably was your responsibility. And those are challenging conversations for customers internally. They're great conversations for HYCU as far as opportunities for us to deliver our value. I know we have a few minutes, and I wanted to make sure there was opportunities to continue to ask questions of Wendy, who's done a great job with us in broadening our presence in Europe. One of the more lasting conversations I've referenced earlier had a little bit of a pause on it, but the one that is very frequent, probably almost hourly with our sales teams these days, is the data sovereignty concept of, if I'm responsible for protecting my data, do I want it to go from one cloud provider to another, one hypervisor platform to another? Somebody had asked about the switching of Nutanix, people leaving one solution to go to Nutanix, people leaving Nutanix to go to others. I mentioned there's, probably the most consistent trend that we see, especially in the hypervisor space, is there's switching going on. It's across all of them. But once you kind of standardize, there's obviously some risk mitigation of how do I have the capability to leave a VMware environment and restore to a Nutanix environment? How do I have the ability to leave a Azure, public cloud and get to an on-prem Azure, Azure Hyper-V, whatever we're calling it these days? How do I get to that? So this control of where my data operates today, how do I de-risk that? And then probably, can I put it in a location of my choice? And that location might mean a region within a public cloud. It may mean an MSP data center that is now within your own country boundaries or within your own territory. All of those, I know, again, I think they're not daily conversations for us, they're hourly conversations, given the geopolitical kind of climate and risks that are occurring. So I don't want to necessarily keep all my data with one supplier. I don't want to keep all my data outside my country. I want to have copy locally. I want to have a copy somewhere in a hosting world. HYCU has been brought into many of those conversations. And again, it's a matter of what is the outcome the customer desires versus the, and then the ability for us to actually get something in place to make sure that it'll work. It's a bit of a fragmented world that we're operating in. I think many folks can talk about data sovereignty. They can talk about choice and where you want to put it. I think we're now beyond the talking about it. We are now we have to execute against it. And as we have those kind of hourly conversations, choice has become probably the greatest and most used part of the vernacular here. There's obviously the cybersecurity risk of I need some, protection is now a must-have. We know something is going to happen, but where we recover, where we put the copies, is seemingly matters the most for companies. I'll take, just given time, I think that's an important topic to kind of land on, is when we get asked a lot about what do you see in market trends, what's happening? Probably this one is now getting intersected with, aligned or overlapped with the cyber, everybody, the constant cybersecurity risk of how do I get to a resilient infrastructure? Resilience no longer means, okay, I can recover if somebody comes in and does something bad. It's now, where am I recovering to? Am I happy with that provider? Do I want it within my own country boundaries? And who has access to it, who doesn't? And that's a pretty substantial trend for us, right?
Surely the issue is that you can outsource execution, but you can't outsource accountability. So no matter how much you use HYCU or use different providers, you are accountable for the data. It's your job to make sure that it's protected. So HYCU is essential. So you're actually working with full knowledge, but there's no way that any of these things will let you skip your accountability for looking after people's data. And that's what people are just beginning to realize. Right, I heard somebody from Salesforce say that there was no problem with moving EU data into their servers in America. Well, obviously was, but that wasn't the advice Salesforce customers were getting at that time, just some years ago. But they now build local data centers. But you have to take responsibility for this stuff.
Yeah, part of it is an education that you now have. You have to take responsibility, but there are options there to make what your actions are more feasible, more plausible than they might have been 6 to 12 months ago as far as choice. And again, that comes down to understanding a little bit about the shared responsibility model, the risk. And now you have choice of, given that we can provide that, you now have choice of leaving having a primary vendor, having the ability to restore to a secondary one or a secondary location in your own country outside of a SaaS provider. Those are, I think part of that is just knowing the world of possible is, completely kind of changing. So We had a question in the beginning about supporting platforms, you know, how easy it for us to add the next hypervisor or what have you. You know, one of the things that we make trade-offs on is, yes, we can do that, but a lot of times right now, I would say more frequently we get right now is, can you get from one platform to another platform? Keep in mind that that second platform has got to be outside of the SaaS provider in a hosted environment running on this particular hypervisor. Those permutations are just as critical for our customers right now than it is to support the next thing.
We've heard that other data protection vendors in Europe are saying that there's no way a US-owned protection vendor can absolutely guarantee data sovereignty in Europe. And therefore, the more that's implemented, you'll get kicked out. Sorry.
I would probably respectfully disagree with that. We're in the software business. One of the reasons Dell chose us was, you know, it was our integration with their data domain, their data domain virtual edition. But we don't control the data. We can run our software in a public cloud that operates in any particular country. We can operate our software inside of a hosted solution that sits within country. So we're moving the data and we're keeping the integrity of it. We don't control it. We don't, and it's fully encrypted and secure. Customers are the ones that own that. So I would probably challenge, you know, our architecture does not require any of our bits or bytes to be stored inside a United States operator or provider.
Could you get a legal opinion backing that up?
Yes.
I don't think I've tried, so I can't answer the question directly that we've said, can we actually, you know, would somebody certify that? But I can get customers, which might be just as good as they're the ones that are making the investment. But we can investigate it.
Thank you.
Legal opinion, you actually want to confess. The legal opinion is just an opinion. What you actually want is a case that's gone to court. In which
Yeah. I like when customers pay us to solidify our claims versus me paying a law firm to solidify our claims. But happy to, like I said, happy to go through that. We've spent a lot of time on this. If you couldn't guess by how much I wanted to talk about it, we spent a lot of time, not just on making trade-offs of how do we support where data goes from one place to another and making sure it stays there. You know, we've chosen not to do certain things as a result of supporting data, you know, the ability for customers to have that choice.